Today I want to show you how to make the most of the hungry gap when you have a vegetable garden and why I harvest as much as early as possible. Welcome back to the Hobby Homestead. I am in Zone 6A in Ontario, Canada, where we have a fairly slow spring here. We're a little slow to start. So our hungry gap, that time between when our last year's harvests, preserved things, potatoes in the root cellar, that kind of thing, that starts to dwindle. And then the time when the garden starts to produce again, where we can harvest, that's the hungry gap. Our hungry gap lasts a lot longer here in northern areas than it does in southern climates. And so we have to get a little bit creative with how and what we harvest so that we can start a little earlier. I'm harvesting radishes right now, which is one of the earlier crops, one of the first things you can harvest in the spring. And if you want to grow radishes but just feel like you don't know what to do with this many radishes, we really like them pickled. So yes, you can put them on salads, which is I think the classic way to use radishes. That's a weed. But they're excellent pickled, and you can either do a classic pickle where you actually can them and let them sit for weeks or months, or you can do a quick fridge pickle. Either way, they're great. Sliced thinly, they really absorb all of the pickling brine and they taste fantastic. And then you can put them on everything. Like we put them on tacos, we put them on salads, and it's like you don't even need salad dressing because all of the juicy pickle brine is there. You can even serve them just as a vegetable side dish on your plate, as is. So we do a couple sowings of radishes every spring and then a couple every fall. And my favorites are French breakfast radish. That's these guys with the white tip on the bottom. And then Champion is one that I grew for the first time last year. And I'm harvesting them a little young, but they can be like the size of an apple. I should see if I can find the photo of my son eating one last year. They're massive and they're fairly sweet if you grow them while it's cool. You can also eat radish greens if you so choose. Just a little bit peppery, spicy, but they're good. I sowed these way too densely here, so I'm picking some of them young to give the others room to grow. Here's some radishes to get us started. Another great crop to grow that gets you started really early in the spring here in the north is spinach. And I'm talking overwintered spinach. So this spinach here was planted last fall. It was planted in September. And at this point it has started to bolt or go to seed. Ooh, a big explosion of pollen. This spinach is definitely going to seed. But before that happens, you get the earliest spinach harvest ever when you overwinter it. Now, most winters are mild enough here in southern Ontario that we don't need to do anything special to protect our spinach plants over the winter. You can even come out and dig the snow away and harvest some of the overwintering leaves. It just won't keep growing through the winter. But if you live in a climate that is colder than this, so maybe like zones 3 and under, you would definitely need to protect that spinach. In fact, I'm not sure how well it overwinters, but you can try with cold frames and insulating things like bales of hay around your cold frame. That could help to keep spinach going. But here we don't do anything. And you can also look for varieties of spinach seed that are known to do well in the winter. So giant winter organic spinach is one that does well. And I've also had great success with Popeye spinach, doing really well through the winter. Now, you can eat them right up until the point where they start to flower. So some of these are just early on in their flowering stage, like they're just starting to send up the stalks. So, I mean, we could still pick these lower leaves if we wanted and have more spinach. Although now I see I've taken the insect netting off the spinach and it's already covered in little eggs. There's eggs there. So if you want to grow leafy greens like this, I do recommend an insect netting over top, even something like spinach. Those are leaf miner eggs. So pretty soon these plants are going to be just crawling with little bug tunnels inside the layers of the leaf, and you're not really going to want to eat them at that point. It's impossible to get them out. But as I said, these are already flowering, so I'm done with this patch. Some seasons can be harder than others to get a good crop of spinach because if the weather is wild, lots of ups and downs with really hot and really cold, the spinach can go to seed fairly early on, as is happening here. But usually for us, it's closer to the summer solstice when the spinach really has started to bolt. So you have some time. But with the overwintered spinach, you extend that harvest window so much Usually our snow is all melted by the middle of March. Snow still falls, but it doesn't really stick around for long. And so at that point, the spinach starts really growing. And then by the end of March, we usually have a good harvest from our overwintered spinach. And then we harvest all the way through April. And then by May, the overwintered stuff starts to go to seed. But if you then direct sow some more spinach in like mid-April, you can keep going harvesting this year's spinach throughout the rest of the Hungry Gap. Another thing you can harvest fairly early is lettuce, although really we're just getting our first salads here this year by mid-May. It wasn't earlier than that, even though some years it is. This is arugula. It is very, very fast growing. And with all lettuces, arugula, leafy greens, anything like that, if you harvest the outside leaves like this, then the rest of it will keep growing. It doesn't have to be a loose leaf lettuce for that to work. But if you are growing a head lettuce because you want big heads of lettuce, then you just leave it and you harvest the whole thing when it's ready, when it is to the size of your liking. But with arugula, you just come through and pick individual leaves and you add it to salads or add it on pizza or whatever you want. I like to grow a big assortment of lettuces so that my salads have lots of different flavors, but I also rely on some perennial leafy greens to add a little bit of zhuzh to my salads early on in the season. One of those is sorrel. This is French sorrel. One of the first greens that comes up in the garden in the spring, usually by end of April. You can see this popping up and you can harvest the baby leaves. And this stuff is very lemony, so I like to cut it into smaller strips and add it to salads that way. But it is a really great, hardy, and reliable perennial green. And that puts me onto the topic of perennials. Perennials are usually your best bet for getting an early harvest, and that's because they have all this stored energy in their roots. So that helps them to come up early even when it is cold out still. They don't need strong sunlight yet. They don't need all that warmth. They've got that energy down below and they can just push out growth early on before everything else. Also, they are climate adapted. They're things that survive all winter here. So of course they can handle our cooler springs. And while everything else takes a longer time to get started, perennials just like bounce up and they're ready to go. One of my favorite edible perennials is asparagus. We have ours in our front yard, so I can take you out and show you that now. Asparagus is one of those things that takes a few years, like probably 4 or 5 years before you start getting actual meaningful big harvests off of it, but it is so worth it. So worth it. You just need patience. Another good perennial green that you may not know about is hosta shoots. Now this hosta is past its prime for harvesting to eat, but when they are just little pointy shoots coming out of the ground, it's a great time to cut them off at the ground level and then saute them up just like you would asparagus. I actually like the taste of hosta shoots more than I like the taste of asparagus. And this is a very hardy perennial plant where I live, even hardier than asparagus. Asparagus has pests that can become a real problem. Hostas really don't, especially at the shoot stage. So super simple plant to grow to get a really early spring harvest. And if you don't harvest all those shoots, then you let the plant grow up, it photosynthesizes, and then you repeat that harvest again the next spring. Another perennial green that I absolutely love is ostrich ferns. Now you don't eat them at this stage once they've opened up. You eat them when they are not yet unfurled. Those tight little fiddleheads they look like, and that's what they're called. Fiddleheads are another great perennial green. Now this ostrich fern patch is just getting established, so there's not a lot here to eat. But once it is an established patch, you can have multiple platefuls of fiddleheads every spring, and they are hands off. Again, perennials, once they're established, they really should be hands off. So it's really easy, free food year over year. And these are kind of a delicacy. You can sometimes find them at specialty grocery stores and markets, but they are otherwise very hard to find. So if you grow them yourself, then you get a specialty food without even having to find a specialty market. And as with other edible perennials, just harvest what you need to eat, but leave some of the plant left to grow so that it can fill out and not only look beautiful in your garden for the rest of the year, but provide you with food in the coming years. This is a new one for me that I didn't realize was edible until this year. This is green-headed coneflower or cutleaf coneflower, and it is a native perennial flower here in my area, but the greens, the young shoots, make an excellent leafy green you can cook up with your dinner. And they are among the first of the leafy greens that are ready to go in early spring for us. A great filler for the Hungry Gap when you just want something green on your plate again. I would be remiss if I didn't mention rhubarb. This rhubarb is way overdue for a big harvest, and rhubarb is of course one of the earliest things that pops up in the garden. probably one of the first things that we bring inside. Definitely the first thing that we preserve for the year. We make lots of rhubarb jams and syrups and desserts. Some people I know use rhubarb in cooking savory dishes, so if you're interested in using it in other ways, you can look up some recipes for that. Now my rhubarb is a little bit out of control. This plant is very happy and healthy, so I can do a lot of harvest from this plant every year and all into the summer. And because it's so happy here, I like to pull out the bottom leaves so that it doesn't just get matted laying on top of itself. Sort of clean up the base a bit. It's getting warm out here now. Oh my gosh, that's really heavy. So there's a good harvest. That's gonna do about 20 pies. Definitely gonna make syrup out of a lot of this. Now there's another category of plants that you can harvest early, and in fact you should harvest early and hard to get the most bang for your buck out of those plants, and that is herbs. Now most herbs actually grow more for you when you cut them back regularly. So if I cut back my thyme and my rosemary, those things are going to put out more tender edible stems in place of those big thick stalks. If you don't harvest those often, then you end up with these long woody branches with a little bit of green at the ends, and it's just not as useful culinarily speaking. So if you cut them back regularly, it keeps that tender young growth coming. Right now, I'm about to harvest some lemon balm. Now I do this while it's young because I don't want to let it set seed. This can be invasive here, so I want to make sure that it does not spread its seeds. I keep it cut back regularly through the year, and then I turn it into tea. You can also end up with little bugs in the leaves and little fungi and stuff damaging the leaves. So it's great to harvest when it's nice and young before any of the discoloration or bugginess appear on the leaves. Last year we had a ton of spittlebugs in this patch, and I'm sure I had a lot of spittlebug tea. Oh, there's some already. There's some spittlebugs. Spittlebugs are harmless in the garden, but kind of gross in your tea. The thing that I love about growing and harvesting herbs is that it puts us back in this abundance mindset earlier. We're filling the pantry here. It's not just picking a few salads early on and then waiting and waiting for that lettuce to grow back. It's really about filling jars, filling the dehydrator, filling the freezer, making pestos, all these things that you can do with herbs. You can do it early. We also have parsley and oregano to harvest. Oregano is another one like thyme and rosemary, where it's a woody herb that is going to want to go to flower and get nice big woody stems on it. But if you keep it cut back, then you get the nice tender young oregano stalks for much longer in the season. Although oregano flowers are also beautiful. And they're always covered in pollinators around here. This big one is lovage, and I could use a little bit more lovage dried. I'm about to make some broth. It'll be handy. Lovage is like celery. It's just not something you would really eat raw with peanut butter on it like you would other kinds of cultivated celery, but it makes a great addition to broths, soups, anything like that that you want a lot of celery flavor in. So right here, we have a great start to building abundance in our pantries again. We've got a ton of herbs that I'm gonna take in and dry. Actually, I'm probably gonna spread them out to dry them in this hot summer sun that we're getting today in May. And we have enough rhubarb here to make 20 rhubarb pies. I'm gonna cook a lot of this down to make a simple syrup because it is amazing in cocktails or mocktails. Just add sparkling water to a rhubarb simple syrup and oh man, it is such a good summer drink. And most of these radishes, I think we're gonna enjoy fresh just because it's really the first good radish harvest of the season. And we pickle the ones that have gotten a little too spicy from being out in the heat of summer. So a lot of these are just gonna be snacked on and eaten in salads, but we may make a quick jar of fridge pickles out of some of these radishes as well. And the greens are in excellent shape, so we can eat those. And we have been eating quite a few salads, quite a few side dishes of asparagus so far this spring. And as I glance over here, I'm seeing we actually have a lot of pak choy, so it's time to do a big stir-fry dinner as well. So here in the Hungry Gap in Ontario, Canada, or any northern garden really, there is definitely food to be had in May and in June. You have to plan for a garden that's full of stuff to come up early. And actually that applies to fall too. You plan so that you have a lot of food coming up in the fall that you can hold over into winter, instead of just planning for your whole garden season to be this like May, June, July, August window of time. Because for us, if you plan to like put tomato plants in the garden or start sowing your carrot seeds in May, then it's July at the earliest before you start harvesting things. So this is my note to you, encouraging you to just expand your garden season in whatever way you can. Look for ways to get more harvest earlier to fill that hungry gap, whether that be leaning into things like radishes and finding new ways to use them, eating more salads, or leaning into perennials. I always encourage people to plant edible perennials. You need patience, you need a few years, but eventually those plants are the ones that are going to feed you reliably year over year, and they will be the earliest of all. If you like this video, please subscribe or give the video a like, or both, and I hope that you'll come and grow with us.